What the hell, Dave? Why do I deserve that?
What about this one?
You can't do that on YouTube!
But Ted, I thought we were talking about obscene gestures.
I meant casting spells in Dungeons & Dragons with using only somatic components.
Oh, I guess I should put these away.
Yeah.
Hey, welcome to Nerdarchy. For nerds, by nerds, I'm Nerdarchist Dave. And today, I'm hanging out with this nerd as usual.
Nerdarchist Ted.
Hey, maybe this is your first time visiting Ted's basement with us. It's a place where we like to talk about news, views, and homebrews for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. Sometimes we even talk about other role-playing games.
So if you don't want to miss a single video, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button and attune to that notification bell.
All right, so we did our video a little while ago, wizards and their words that can kill you. So we decided to, hey, let's look at somatic now components and kind of like finish things off. I don't think we're going to delve into material components only because pretty sure there aren't any spells that actually do that. So there's actually 17 spells that are just gestures only, somatic components only. We don't have the wide berth that we did with vocal components.
Absolutely. So 17 spells. When we did the other one with, only using the vocal components, it ranged all across all spell levels. We actually have a couple levels, 4th and 7th, that doesn't have any options. So it's not quite as useful here.
Not only that, it's super heavy in the cantrip department.
Super heavy. What do we have? 7 options?
Yeah, 7 options. And the other thing too is, now if you wanted to make a caster with using somatic components mainly, not all, you could add material components into it, and it does bump it up a bit.
It goes to 25, so that gives you some options. So whether you want to use, the somatic components and either a focus or those material components, you'd have a caster who's got the ability to ignore, oh, I'm in the silence spell, who cares? I'm gonna do this anyway.
Also, too, occasionally you do get those players that want to be like, I want to play a mute character, and I'm only going to sign at the table and gesture and things of that nature, or use like telepathy or something. Well, with 25 options, that does allow you to do it. You definitely have some dead spots, though, as far as your spells known.
We still falter at 4th and 7th level. And, a lot of the spells that we are looking at here do fall into more, defensive and reactive.
Absolutely. So I guess with that, we can jump in and look at like the 3 top spells that we came up for, using your gestures only. Before we do that, it is worth noting that if you want to make a character, a wizard that's really diverse, or any spellcaster really, it's really diverse in their casting, I've never really considered spell components in there. Like, I'm like, do I have this energy type of damage? Do I have range? Do I have saving throws? Do I have different saving throws? But like, this adds a whole nother layer if you're like, well, how can I really balance out my spellcaster and make sure they're ready for every situation?
Absolutely. But you know what else is worth noting?
What is that, Ted?
D&D Beyond. We happen to pull up our spells that only use somatic components over on D&D Beyond, and it's worth noting that they're sponsoring this video.
Yeah, absolutely. D&D Beyond makes everything we do so much easier, whether it's making videos for you fine folks out there, or it's playing our own games, making characters. You can do it on D&D Beyond. You can do it fast and easy. I was able to set my son up, who's fairly new to the hobby and really doesn't make characters on his own that much, and be like, here, make your character, and he's able to quickly make them. Our nephew, who's like in 7th grade, is easily going through on D&D Beyond, creating characters in seconds. Absolutely. All right, maybe minutes. But it is super fast. It's super easy. You can also make monsters over there, new magic items. The cloning feature, I love it so much. I pick a monster, I copy the monster, and then I make the changes I want.
But if that's not enough, you have all of the SRD content that's over there for free. Whether you've bought anything or not, you've got something that you can be able to check out. And that's besides the other free content like the videos and the articles that give great advice and great D&D content.
I mean, even as we speak, I'm quickly filtering out things that I don't need. So when we talk about these spells, I'm only going to be looking at what I want to. It's so fast. It's so easy. I love D&D Beyond.
So getting back into it, Dave says we're going to talk about the top 3 spells that are gestures only.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't say necessarily like the best, because obviously there's a 9th level spell that we're ignoring because we thought some other spells are cooler, handy. Absorb Elements is one of my favorites. It's a 1st level spell. It comes up, you can use it over and over again. It's a defense spell. It's an attack spell. It's a reaction. So it covers a lot of bases. It's also an abjuration spell. So if you happen to be an abjurer, that can be useful. You can use it at higher levels. So basically, it's a range of self, first level, reaction. It lasts 1 round. The spell captures some of the incoming energy, lessening effect on you and storing it for your next melee attack. You have resistance to the triggering damage type until the start of your next turn. Also, the first time you hit with a melee attack on your next turn, the target takes an extra die 6 damage of the triggering type and the spell ends. Now, for every spell level above first, that damage increases by a die 6. So literally, someone could hit you for a die 6 of fire damage. You could absorb half of it and then send back 9 die 6 of fire damage on your next turn if you wanted to do something completely crazy and insane.
Dave has used this many times in my game, and there have been many times that he's bumped it higher and thus done more damage on his retaliatory strike than I did to him as a player. A lot of fun.
Yeah, also, I've also used it playing a Gish. I mean, same character, I just used it a little bit of a different application, and that is where I drop fireballs on myself, take the damage, use this spell, take half, make my saving throw, and, so end up taking a quarter of the damage, but then, not only did my enemies take the fireball damage, next time when I hit them with my axe, they're also taking more fire damage. And again, you can bump up the spell and do even more damage. It's just a lot of fun.
Absolutely. So I actually found a new spell from Xanathar's that I had overlooked previously, maybe because it's an 8th level spell, but this is a phenomenal spell that as a DM, I am guaranteeing that this is going to appear in a game in the somewhat near future. All right, so an 8th level spell, as I said, we have Illusory Dragon from Xanathar's Guide to Everything. Casting time is 1 action, range is 120 feet. As we said, it's somatic only. Duration is a minute. School is illusion. Attack or save is wisdom. And it can do acid or any number of things. By gathering threads of shadow material from the Shadowfell, you create a huge shadowy dragon in an unoccupied space you can see within range. The illusion lasts for the spell's duration and occupies its space as if it were a creature. It is concentration, so, don't get attacked. When the illusion appears, any of your enemies that can see it must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or become frightened of it for 1 minute. If a frightened creature ends its turn in a location where it doesn't have line of sight of the illusion, it can repeat the saving throw, ending the effect on itself on a success. As a bonus action on your turn, you can move the illusion up to 60 feet. At any point during its movement, you can cause it to exhale a blast of energy in a 60-foot cone originating from its space. When you create the dragon, choose a damage type: acid, cold, fire, lightning, necrotic, or poison. Each creature in the cone must make an intelligence saving throw, taking 7 die 6 damage of the chosen type on a failed save, or half as much damage on a successful one. So pretty cool. You get a breath cone attack every round as a bonus action, in addition to being able to do other stuff. But we're not done yet. The illusion is tangible because of the shadow stuff used to create it, but attacks miss it automatically. It succeeds on all saving throws and is immune to all damage and conditions. You've got a damage source that's out there that's got the potential to be drawing attention and attacks from the party. Super awesome. But we're not done. A creature that uses an action to examine the dragon can determine that it is an illusion by succeeding on an intelligence investigation check against your spell save DC. If the creature discerns the illusion for what it is, the creature can see through it and has advantage on saving throws against its breath. So even if you know that it's fake, it can still hurt you.
Yeah, it's a high-level spell. It's going to be hard to get rid of. It lasts for a minute. That's 10 rounds. For the utility of the spell, the different types of damage you can do, the frightening effect, that's why it kind of edged out the other attack spell that we were going to go with that was actually higher. It's Psychic Scream. Psychic Scream, you can affect 10 creatures with it. You do a ton of damage. But this is like, wow, you can do a lot of damage over a lot of rounds, and you have options. And not to mention, after that initial casting, you're free to cast other spells as well. You can Psychic Scream later.
Right. So I look at this as a kind of spell that, you could really just experiment with your players. I'm going to put this out there as a caster who is hidden or, what have you, and they're going to, on their subsequent turns, get away. Like, they're going to move, to somewhere that they're not really presenting a threat, and see what the players do for that minute. Is the thing going to chase them down? Are they going to try and dispel it? Are they going to try and interact with it? So you could have a lot of fun where only this spell is damaging them. Or you could totally go apeshit bonkers and have that spellcaster, laying down other spells because it doesn't have to hurt the dragon.
No, absolutely. With that brings us to the final choice, and kind of because this is like an iconic spell for the game since 3rd edition. It's kind of iconic for wizard duels. If you're a arcane spellcaster, heck, if you're any kind of spellcaster and you can get access to this spell, I don't see why you wouldn't take it. Again, it's another reaction, so always super useful. Range 60 feet. It's a 3rd level spell. It is instantaneous. It's another abjuration spell. Yes, we are talking about counterspell. You attempt to interrupt a creature in the process of casting a spell. If the creature is casting a spell of 3rd level or lower, its spell fails and has no effects. If it is casting a spell 4th level or higher, make an ability check using your spell casting ability. The DC equals 10 plus the spell level. On a success, the creature's spell fails and has no effect. You can pump this spell up and cast it at higher levels, meaning you don't have to make that check as long as the spell you're countering is equal to the level or lower.
A lot of fun, and has caused me much ire, agita, call it what you will. When you've got multiple players in your group casting this at your spellcaster, it can really take really steal the thunder directly, out of your combatants.
Well, yeah, and as fun as that is, it becomes even crazier when you then have NPCs that are also counterspelling, and you have several players in your game that are also counterspelling. You end up with counterspell palooza going on, and it's like, who's going to finally get to cast the spell?
We have had in one instance, the spell got cast, or the spell attempted to get cast. Dave counterspells it. Thing tries to counter Dave's counter, and the bard winds up countering my counterspell, thus the spell goes off. I was like,
yeah, that has definitely happened, and I think we've actually at least once added one more layer to that with a second enemy spellcaster.
Yes.
So things can get really crazy, and it also makes the resources, the spell slots, go really fast when everyone is counterspelling everybody.
But sometimes, if you acknowledge what spell is being cast, through the use of an Arcana check or what have you, you're like, no, I don't want this to happen. I don't care how much resources I have to put into it. This spell needs to not go off.
This needs to not happen.
So they're really, it's just a phenomenal spell. With the higher levels, the more your Arcana skill goes up, and it goes up in a much faster method. You can get a plus 11, max stat and max proficiency bonus mixed, and that's, average roll of a 10, that's a 21. Whereas, you only need a 19 for the highest level spell in the game. It's pretty easy to get.
Yeah, it's if you're using Arcana checks. The question is, how are you guys doing it in your game? And I want to hear about your crazy counterspell stories that have happened while you've been playing, whether it was the DM using NPCs against you, or whether it was, you as the player character and you're the venturing party using counterspell against your DM. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, I want to invite you to join the Nerdarchy adventuring party over on Patreon. Hey Ted, what can they expect to find over there?
Well, if you want to join us over on Patreon, we're creating products every month that has components that can be used by both the player and the DM alike.
Don't forget, Ted, our patrons every month are automatically entered into our giveaways.
Well, that's true, Dave, but that's not all. We also have those weekly Patreon hangouts, and that's just a small tip of what we're doing over on Patreon.
So until next time,
stay nerdy.